Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and today is Monday, February 5th of 2024. Now, we would be celebrating Monday of the 5th week in Ordinary Time, but today we have the memorial of St. Agatha, Virgin and Martyr. Today's Gospel, though, is the Gospel from the day, so it will come from that Monday, and it comes to us from Mark's Gospel, verses 53 through 56. After making the crossing to the other side of the sea, Jesus and his disciples came to land at Gennesaret and tied up there. As they were leaving the boat, people immediately recognized him. They scurried about the surrounding country and began to bring in the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. Whatever villages or towns or countryside he entered, they laid the sick in the marketplaces and begged him that they might touch only the tassel on his cloak. And as many as touched it were healed. They begged Jesus that they might touch only the tassel on his cloak. If we meditate on this request of the citizens of Gennesaret, there's two truths that emerge. First, notice that out of all the things the citizens of Gennesaret could have asked Jesus for, they only asked to touch his cloak. And think, not even the whole cloak, but just the tassel, the smallest part. They could have asked for spiritual healing or salvation or to love him more, but they didn't. Now, it's not evil to ask to touch Jesus' cloak, and clearly they had enough faith in Jesus for him to be able to work miracles for them. But Mark gives us the impression that maybe they've missed the point. It's as though they've forgotten which is greater, the tassel or the one wearing the cloak. Last week we heard the story of the woman afflicted with hemorrhages. She too touched Jesus' cloak and received physical healing. But Jesus had something even greater to give her: salvation and spiritual healing. Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. We can think too of the 10 lepers. All 10 were healed, but only one came back to thank Christ. And so that leper not only received physical healing, but was also told, your faith has saved you. So what is the point of this? Well, the first truth is that these temporal healings, these tangible blessings and gifts, and even more broadly, all the talents, gifts, and faculties we have at our disposal, well, all of these things are good only inasmuch as they lead us to God. In the words of St. Henry, gifts are fleeting and meaningless while they are possessed, unless we can glimpse something of heaven's eternity in them. And all these things, they've got to be pointing me to heaven. We can think, too, of St. Ignatius's principle and foundation. The things of the earth, he writes, are created for man and to help him pursuing the end for which he is created. Hence it follows that man is to use them as much as they help him to his end, and to rid himself of them if they hinder him. We can even think of St. Alphonsus Liguori's example. He recounts the story of a blind man who recovered his sight after making a pilgrimage, and he went to go pray at the tomb of a saint. And after he knelt down and prayed, his vision was recovered. But as he was leaving the saint's chapel, he started to think that maybe, just maybe, having his vision would be actually worse for him spiritually. And so he returned to the chapel and prayed that if it was better for his soul, he would prefer to remain blind. And sure enough, the man went blind again. Temporal things are good only if they lead us to God. The second truth is that we shouldn't be afraid to ask God for great things. In fact, St. Teresa of Jesus used to pray, you pay God a compliment by asking great things of him. That's what she used to say, not pray. You pay God a compliment by asking great things of him. Sometimes we limit God by only asking him for small things. Maybe thinking that those bigger graces, like the grace to become a saint, or for the conversion of our families, or whatever, it's too much. We become like the citizens of Gennesaret. All they wanted was to be healed physically, and that was enough. They're completely unaware of how generous Christ is, and of how much he wanted to give them. Today's gospel, if you remember, starts with this line. After making the crossing to the other side of the sea, Jesus and his disciples came to the land of Gennesaret. Well, that's sort of an understatement. If you remember, a few verses before, the disciples had gone off in the boat, and the wind was against them, During the night, Jesus appeared walking on the water and the wind died down. Jesus did all of that simply to be with the people in Gennesaret. Of course, in all of this, we have a huge help. We can ask for these graces through Our Lady's intercession. During one of her appearances to St. Catherine Labouré, Mary held out a golden ball, which she seemed to be offering to God. And Catherine Labouré recounts, suddenly her hands were resplendent with rings set with precious stones, some of which glittered and flashed in a brilliant cascade of light. So brilliant was the flood of glory cast upon the globe below that Catherine could no longer see Our Lady's feet. Mary lowered her eyes and looked at Catherine, who heard a voice even though Mary's lips didn't move. This is what the voice said. "The ball which you see represents the whole world, especially France, and every person in particular. These rays of light, which come from the gems, symbolize the graces I shed upon those who ask for them. The gems from which rays do not fall are the graces for which souls forget to ask. The gems from which rays do not fall are graces for which souls forget to ask. A heart that trusts little, or that forgets God's generosity, asks for little and so receives little. But the heart that trusts a great deal asks for much and receives much. Today, through the intercession of Mary, Our Lady of Faith, let's ask for the grace of a deep faith in Christ, a faith that makes us trust in His goodness and isn't afraid to ask Him for great graces.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.